Whenever you want to perform a division problem like this, the first thing you should do is rewrite it into long division format. Where the first number goes inside the division symbol, and it's known as the dividend, and the second number is known as the divisor, and it goes on the outside. So what we're doing is we're saying 525 divided by 15 is equal to, and this notation is saying 15 goes into 525 how many times. Now we're going to write the result up here, and it'll be known as the quotient. The way you do this is you look at this number and you ask yourself, how many times will it go into the first digit? Well, 15 won't go into 5. 15 is much bigger than 5. So we're going to have to go to the second digit. So 15 will go into 52 3 times. So because I had to go out to the 2, I'm going to put the 3 above the 2. The reason 15 will go into 52 3 times is because 15 times 3 is 45. So after I write the result, 15 times 3, I perform the subtraction, 52 times 45, and I get 7. Well, 15 won't go into 7 because 15 is bigger than 7, and that's good. If this number here ever ends up being bigger than this number, then you know you didn't pick this number to be the correct number, and this number needed to be bigger, because this should always be smaller than this. So what I want to do now is bring this 5 down so that I can say, well, how many times does 15 go into 75? Well, 15 goes into 75 5 times, because 15 times 5 is 75. Now, whenever this number here at the end is 0 and there are no more digits left up here, then you're done. So that you know the 15 goes into 525 35 total times. Or you can say 525 divided by 15 is equal to 35. Now with this one here, if we want to get our final answer in decimal notation, we're going to have to round it. So let's round this to 3 decimal places. To be able to round to 3 decimal places, you need to be able to find 4 decimal places, because you need to know the 4th decimal to tell what to round the 3rd decimal to. So this is going to be approximately equal to. Whenever you want to do an approximation, you use a little squiggly equal sign. Okay, so the first thing we ask ourselves is, how many times will 17 go into 1? It won't, so we ask 17 into 10. Also won't, so we're going to have to go all the way out to this third digit here. So 17 will go into 104 6 times, because 17 times 6 is 102. So it's pretty close. Now, if we perform the subtraction here, we'll get our 2. Now remember, this number should always be smaller than this one here. Okay, so if we bring the 2 down, now we want to know, well, how many times will 17 go into 22? 1 time. Okay, because 17 times 1 is 17, so if I perform a subtraction here, I'm going to have 5. Now, if you didn't want to know this as a decimal number, you would say that this is equal to 61 with a remainder of 5. Now you could also write it as a fraction, as 61, and you put the remainder in the numerator of the fraction, and then the denominator will be the 17. However, most people prefer decimal numbers, so we're going to write this as a decimal. Well, to do it as a decimal, you have to do a little bit more work, because notice we don't have any more digits here, so we're going to have to give ourselves digits. Now, you can't just put a 0 here, because if you put a 0 here, then that'll be 10,042 instead of 1,042. So what we're going to do is put a decimal point here to say, well, it's just 1,042, and then add a 0 here. Now, if you add a decimal into your dividend, then you should also add it to your quotient, and it's going to be directly above where it was in your dividend. Now, as long as you've been making sure that your digits are lining up, your decimal point should line up correctly. So now we're going to drop down our 0. We ask ourselves, well, how many times will 17 go into 50? 2 times. Now, you don't have to worry about the decimal anymore. As long as you just make sure your digits line up, everything is taken care of with that. So 17 goes into 50 2 times, and 17 times 2 is 34. And when I perform the subtraction, I get 16. Excuse me. Now this number has to be smaller than that one, and it is, so that's good. So we're going to need to add another 0 and drop it down. So 17 will go into 160 9 times, and we're going to have to keep extending this as well. 17 times 9 is 153. When I perform that subtraction, I will get 7. I'm going to need another 0 now, and bring it down. 17 goes into 70 4 times. Now, even though we have 3 digits, this is not sufficient to be able to round to 3 digits. You need to know the 4th digit to know if you need to round this number up or down. So we're going to have to do it one more time. So 17 will go into 17 times 4 is 68. And if I subtract this, I'll get 2. And I'm going to need one more 0. Bring it down. Get 20. This is the last one we're going to need to do. 17 will go into 20 one time. And since we're going to stop here, we don't need to do the minus 17. You could, and you could keep going to more decimals, but decimal places, but we're only going to do 3. So 17 goes into 20 one time. So because this number is a 1, this one needs to round down to a 4, so it is approximately equal to it's approximately equal to 61 .294. And that's it.